Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the December Lower Providence Township Zoning Hearing Board. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hope everybody's all ready for the holidays. We do have 4 cases this evening that we're going to review, and I'm going to start with roll call. Gary Brown.
Here.
Pedro Meta.
Here.
Mark Kuberski.
Here.
Chris Curtis. I'm here. Joe Pucci.
Here.
Travis DeCaro is excused. Gail Hager.
Here.
And our solicitor, Keith McLennan.
Here.
Gary, could you please read our statement?
The Zoning Hearing Board will give all interested parties an opportunity to ask questions and testify in connection with the applications being heard tonight. After a witness for the applicant completes testimony, you will be given an opportunity to ask questions of that witness. In addition, after an applicant has completed its case, you will also be given an opportunity to testify, which will require you to be sworn as a witness. If you wish to participate in the hearing on an application, you should complete the entry of appearance form, which will be provided to you by the zoning officer, Mike Mrzowski, sitting over to the left here. We ask your cooperation in maintaining silence during the hearing so that both the board and the court reporter can hear the testimony of the witness. We also ask that all cell phones be turned off.
Thank you, Gary. Mark, can you read our first hearing for the...
Sure. Hearing number 1, Z-24-28, Calla King, 18 West Mount Kirk Avenue, Eagleville, PA, 19403. The applicant is requesting variances from the impervious coverage requirements in both the RPB section 143-262E and R2 section 143-37B to permit impervious coverage of 83.1%, where a maximum of 50% in the RPBD and 35% in the R2 is required, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. The parcel ID of the subject properties are 43-00-09097-00-4, 43-00-09100-001, 43-00-09103-007, 43-00-11590-00-4. The subject properties are located at 14 West Mount Kirk Avenue, 18 West Mount Kirk Avenue, West Mount Kirk Avenue, 3076 Ridge Pike, and are in the R2 Residential Zoning District and RPB Ridge Pike Business District. The matter was continued from November 26, 2024.
Thank you, Mark. Sorry, I assume you're representing Calla King?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Freemuth. I'm an attorney at Whistler Pearlstein and Bluebell. And yes, I'm representing the applicant this evening.
Okay, very good. Can you introduce the project?
Sure, absolutely. It sounds like from the reading of the advertisement that the parcels are all over the place and numerous in nature. But in fact, this property, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, is located right at the corner of West Mount Kirk and Ridge Pike. It's immediately adjacent to the Lower Providence Presbyterian Church. Right on the corner there is Salter's Fireplace Showroom and Retail. And the property is rather unique in that it's split zoned. And as you will see on the plans this evening, it's somewhat oddly shaped, extending all the way or pretty far back from Ridge Pike along the common property line with the church, as well as with the residential neighbors on West Mount Kirk. The applicant is an entity that's owned by Gianni Calabretta, who's here with me this evening and will be testifying. Also here with me this evening is Jim Hirsch from Gilmore and Associates. Gianni is also the owner of Maintain It All, which is a business that operates from the property, as I mentioned, and it uses a paved and gravel area in the rear of the property to store equipment and materials in connection with its residential and commercial exterior maintenance business operations. Since the property was acquired by the applicant and Gianni in 2015, he has extended the gravel area in the rear of the property little by little in order to meet the growing business needs for his outdoor operations. He was informed by the township that he couldn't do that without seeking the proper permits and approvals. As a result of being contacted by the township, he engaged an engineer, he's met with the township, and we've prepared plans which we've submitted this evening. The plans that were here, as you heard from the notice, are requesting a variance to allow 83.1% impervious to remain on the property, where 86.6% actually exists today after the gravel area was extended. As you'll see on the plans again, which we will review with the witnesses, the applicant is intending to remove a portion of the gravel area that was previously installed while keeping enough impervious coverage on this site in order to allow it to be useful for the business operations of Maintain It All. In order to address potential stormwater issues associated with the additional impervious, the applicant is proposing to install stormwater management facilities to appropriately manage any stormwater that may run off from the additional impervious, and you'll see that on the plans in a moment as well. I do have exhibit booklets here, which I can pass out. I've also provided PDFs of my exhibits, which will pull up on the screen. And while I'm doing that, maybe I can have both witnesses sworn in. At the same time, I'm going to ask Jim Hirsch, our engineer, to testify first, and then I'll have Gianni come up and testify after Jim.
Okay, very good. You could call up the witnesses.
Gentlemen, you solemnly swear to testify
Sure.
the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you.
Sir?
I do.
Sir?
I do.
Say your name as well.
Maybe
Joe can give me back my application.
Probably.
Yes, sir.
Gianni Calabrese.
Spell your name.
I don't really need it though, I'll just bounce.
You got it, bro.
Calabrette.
You really need it before I do film, sorry, I'm just moving your ribs.
Great. Jim, why don't you just introduce yourself for the board briefly, if you might.
Yeah, sure. My name's Jim Hirsch. I'm a senior project manager with Gilmore and Associates. I attended Northeastern University. I graduated in 2008. I worked for 2 years at a land development firm in the Lehigh Valley, and then made my way to Gilmore and Associates. Currently a senior project manager. I work in the municipal department in our New Britain office, which is our headquarters. I'm currently an appointed township engineer in Lower Gwynedd.
Testified before, I don't need to cut you off, you don't have to go through the whole thing, your pedigree is very nice, but the question is, have you testified in zoning hearing board cases before?
Yes, I have.
How many times do you think?
2, 3,
2 or 3 times?
Yep.
Okay, and you've been sworn in as an expert previously?
yes.
Okay.
How about any times in our township?
In Lower Providence, no.
Jim, it's, what's in the packet, Exhibit A1, and if you can pull it up on the screen, that's your CV, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and that shows your credentials as you've just described them?
Yes.
I don't think we have any issue with his credibility, his expertise. I think you qualify as an engineer in good standing, et cetera, so you're fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure the board feels the same way. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, I appreciate that, thank you. Jim, you're familiar with the zoning application and the properties that are the subject of this application, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and did Gilmore and Associates prepare the plans that were submitted with this application?
We did.
And are you personally familiar with those plans?
Yes.
Okay. And if we look at what's been marked as Exhibit A2, wait for that to get up on the screen. Can you just identify this plan for the record, Jim?
Yeah, it is an existing features plan of the property. It's titled 306 Ridge Pike Site Conditions Plan.
And does this plan show the property that's the subject of the application?
It does.
Okay. And with reference to this plan, can you describe for us where this property is located?
Sure. It is located at the corner of West Kirk Avenue and Ridge Pike.
And using this plan, can you identify for us the existing improvements that are on this property?
Sure. So the main site access comes from West Kirk Avenue. There's full access from that street. There's actually two curb cuts. The curb cut that is closest to Ridge Pike is an entrance only. If you are entering the site, you would then work your way around the front of the building. Then there's angled parking, in a one-way situation around the front of the building. The other further site access from Ridge Pike is two-way access, so you can enter and also exit through that entrance. There is a right out only in the bottom right-hand corner of this plan that goes out to Ridge Pike. There is a two-story frame building there that is currently vacant but was rented out as an office most recently. The large two-story building kind of on the corner of West Mount Kirk and Ridge is, it's got two uses in it currently. The Salters Fireplace retail in the front half, and then warehouse and a small office for Maintain It All in the rear. Additionally, to the drive aisles, parking, and whatnot, we have the gravel area, which is the south and east side of this plan. That is essentially the subject of why we're here tonight.
Okay. And the gravel area that exists today it's noted as gravel area in two locations on that plan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And are you familiar with the uses that surround this property?
I am.
Okay. Can you describe those uses?
Yes. To the call it east is the Lower Providence Presbyterian Church, and mostly the cemetery is what abuts there. There are residential properties to the south and west along Mount Kirk. Across Mount Kirk, there are some more residential properties, and then abutting on the plan west side of Ridge Pike are more commercial businesses, and then across the street is a commercial business. It's actually Salter's warehouse and storage.
Okay. And does Exhibit A2 contain a zoning data table for the property?
It does.
Okay. Can you review that, the information in that zoning table?
Yeah,
with
sure.
us?
It identifies the property as split zoned between Ridge Pike Business District and the R2 Residential District. It identifies the existing uses as retail, business office, warehouse, and storage as an accessory use to the warehouse. It gives the existing lot area, which is a collection of all 4 parcels at 3.4 acres. And it also identifies the current impervious coverage at 86.6%.
And if we move on to the next exhibit, which is Exhibit A3. Can you identify this plan for us, Jim, for the record?
Yes, this plan is titled 2015 Site Conditions Plan for 3076 Ridge Pike.
Okay. And what's the purpose behind this particular plan?
The purpose behind this plan was to depict site conditions at a time when Gianni purchased the property in 2015.
Okay. And does this plan document the impervious coverage at that time?
Yes, the impervious coverage at that time was 59%.
Okay. And since that time, as we saw from the existing features plan, that impervious has increased to 86.6% today. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. If we move along now to what's been marked Exhibit A4, could you identify that plan for us for the record, Jim?
Yes, that plan is titled Site Improvement Plan for the subject property.
And before we get into some of the details on this site improvement plan, can you just tell us the reasoning behind the preparation of this plan?
Yeah, so after Gianni was notified by the township that his existing site conditions were not compliant with the ordinance, he contacted our office and became a client, and we had a meeting with the township staff and Gianni to discuss a path forward.
And with that background, can you describe for us what is depicted on Exhibit A?
So on this exhibit, the main differences between this exhibit and the existing features as they stand today is a proposal to remove impervious coverage. About 5,000 square feet of impervious would be removed from the property as it stands today. To propose conceptual stormwater management facilities to offset the increase in impervious coverage, and to also install a fence, a screen fence between Maintain It All's property and the church.
And the reduction in impervious that's shown there results in a final impervious being proposed of 83.1%, correct?
That is correct.
And that's the variance that's being requested this evening?
Yes.
Okay. And relief is being requested from both the R2 and the Ridge Pike Business District requirements, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that's because this property is split zone as shown on the plans?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to the gravel and the stone area that's being removed, what is that gonna be replaced with?
It would be replaced with grass in most areas, and then there is a surface stormwater facility that would be proposed in the extreme left edge of the property.
Okay. And can you describe the stormwater management that exists on the property today?
Yes, so currently there's a few inlets, and there is, if you look at the center of this plan, just to the east of the main building, there's a dashed line there. There's a dashed area, hatched area. That hatched area represents an easement. There's an easement that carries stormwater from Ridge Pike through the property and discharges to a drainage swale on the backside of Maintain It All's property. Those few inlets and that culvert represent the only stormwater management facilities that currently exist on the site today.
And that's a conveyance system and not an infiltration or recharge facility?
Yes, it is simply to convey water through the property.
Okay. And the stormwater facilities that are proposed, those are noted as conceptual at this point, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And is the intent that if the applicant's successful in obtaining the variance, that he would work with the township and the township engineer to determine in more detail what those facilities should look like?
Yes, we would work with the township engineer to determine the scope of stormwater improvements that would be required, and then we would need to design them in accordance with all township stormwater management ordinances.
And those would be designed to manage the stormwater in order to avoid any negative impact on adjoining properties or downstream neighboring properties, correct?
Yes, that would be the intent.
Okay. Those are all the questions that I have for Mr. Hirsch at this time.
Mr. Hirsch, do you know if the applicant is willing to accept as a condition if he or it was granted relief to include those stormwater management systems?
Yeah, that is, yes, that's my.
That's your understanding?
That is my understanding, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else who has a question?
Okay, before we go to the next witness, do we have any questions from the board?
Is there anybody here for this application? Sir, are you here in favor of it or opposed to it?
As long as there is.
Come on up, I'm sorry, that was a loaded question. Why don't you state your name? Yeah, Mr. Freemuth is going to give you that microphone, and then you can state your name.
Yeah, my name's Tim Williams. I'm 45 years here in the township. I live at 20 Oakland Avenue, which is not directly affected by this, but my neighbors in behind me are.
How many feet do you think you are from the location?
I'm from this location, 400 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're within the scope of influence
I
here.
was given a letter.
Notice.
And most particularly, I'm speaking for the neighbor behind me, which is just.
How can you do that? He's not, where's the neighbor?
Well, he's my neighbor by we're back-to-back lots.
Does that qualify you to speak for him?
Yes, it does. Okay.
I'm not so
Especially
sure, but
since
we'll hear you, I guess, unless Mr.
especially-
Freeman has any objection. I
He,
mean,
he borrows my equipment so that he can, all right. Actually, the one thing we did want to bring up is that there is an existing.
all right, let's
runoff.
stop you there. You're gonna have to swear him in, Timmy, because he's testifying.
Swear to solemnly swear to testify about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And before you go into what you're gonna say, do you have any questions for the witness?
I'm assuming at this point in time that the actual design of the active stormwater retention system isn't designed, because that's something that has to be defined with the board as a future.
Yeah, it's conceptual in nature, so no, there hasn't been any design.
Okay. So we're not going to object to this as long as we know that there's something more active being done than just a passive roll-off of the water, because that's the current issue. And in fairness to maintain it all, they've actually helped one or two neighbors in that area dig drainage swales, and that's very much appreciated.
They've maintained it all then, right?
They've maintained it all by helping some of the neighbors take care of some
All
of
right.
the current runoff issues.
Great.
But the runoff issues that we have here date back to changes that were made in the 1980s and 1990s, and that's what we're kind of dealing with, and that has to do with the easement that runs underneath that property. That was a controversial issue when it was allowed to happen back in that day, and it's the main reason we have a runoff problem today. So as long as there's something being done to manage the runoff, that's what we want to hear.
Thank you. Anybody else here for this application? Seeing none. Any questions from the board?
Just a clarification question. So we're talking about, what, 4 different parcels? Is that what it is?
There are four, I think there might be 4 tax identification parcel numbers. Is that correct, Jim, on the plan?
Yes.
And
And it's one common deed, though.
it's one common
which,
deed.
Which will get into the record and identify with Gianni, but it's one deed.
It is one deed. That's why we're talking about all 4 together with the impervious of 50% and 35% of the R2. Okay.
That's correct, and they're used today as one
one.
parcel, so,
All right. Thank you.
yeah.
Anyone else with questions?
So the gravel area that exists today, in the 2015 conditions plan, what was that? What was it in 2015?
You mean the total impervious at that time?
No,
On the
the,
site?
so you marked the
What-
site improvement plan as gravel area. It's not marked as gravel area in 2015, so what was that?
Sure. Would you mind pulling up A3, I believe? Yeah. I believe what, it says existing stone area. Do you see that note on the plan?
Okay, I do see that.
Yeah,
So that
that's-
entire area was stone,
Correct.
okay, and it was modified to gravel, which created the higher impervious.
Yes, but I think that it was stone, and it is essentially stone now. It's just, it's labeled differently
Okay.
on the plan.
So it's essentially the same,
The same consistency or similar consistency.
okay. And the easement on the site improvement plan,
A4.
yes, A4, so that's the gray hatched area that runs from Ridge Pike to the edge of the property on the south end?
Yes, that's correct.
So what is that today? Is there a pipe under there? or-
Yeah, so there's a pipe under most of it from Ridge Pike all the way back to, if you kind of can see, there's like a U-shaped structure
Yep.
there. That's like a concrete end wall. And then at that point, from that concrete end wall to the edge of the property, it's just it's a ditch.
So water flows essentially
Right to left on this plan.
right to left? Okay. So it comes from Ridge Pike into the residential area
Yes.
through your property?
Correct.
And the stormwater management facility that's conceptualized will capture that water so that it's no longer going to be conveyed into the residential property?
So the stormwater management facilities would be intended to capture runoff from the expanded gravel area and treat it for water quality and attenuate the volume and rate towards the residential properties, yes.
But it won't be doing anything to address the easement, the water that's
The
flowing?
existing water that's in the easement, no,
Okay, so there's no planned changes to that easement?
that's
Essentially.
correct.
But those, if I may ask just one question,
Sure.
follow-up, the proposed or conceptual stormwater facilities will address stormwater running into that same ditch, correct?
Yes,
So it will
that's
manage, it will manage water that's otherwise not being managed today?
correct. Yes,
Right.
that would be correct.
So those seem like two different statements.
Okay, I thought your question was, would the stormwater facilities reduce the amount of flow in the culvert, which is underneath the parking lot in that hatched area? The answer to that is no.
Okay?
But if you were to analyze flows at, say, a point along the property before it leaves Maintain It All's property, then it would be a reduction because it's all kind of flowing down that way now, and we would be catching a portion of it
Okay,
in the post-development condition.
okay, thank you.
So you're saying there is water flowing on that, so that, I understand you said, when, that area that is paved, it's a gravel paving? Is that what that area is in the back there that you're?
It's essentially stone
So it's just a stone?
that's been driven over and.
So it's compacted in a point where it became,
Considered
impervious.
impervious,
It's
yes.
considered impervious by definition.
Yeah.
And right now, that surface is draining towards that culvert, you're saying, right now?
Yeah, the drainage patterns are such that the site kind of drains front to back, but also a little bit from the plan bottom towards that culvert.
So that's where, once you correct all this, you'll reduce that water that's now going into the culvert and stuff.
Yes.
Any other questions by the board? Joe, do you have anything?
No.
Gary? We have no other questions right now.
Do you have any, you've looked at this obviously, and the question I think that Mr. Gertis was talking about or referring to is the concept of apparently there's already a stormwater management issue out there, as Mr., and I'm sorry, I forgot your last, what he said.
Williams. I think
Williams,
you said.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, was concerned about, and that is that if there's an additional amount of stormwater that's now flowing along with what's already a problem from the culvert area, and you're saying that there's a certain amount of that culvert water, for lack of a better reference,
I think
that's going to be captured by your proposed stormwater management system?
there is no culvert, there's no water that's in the culvert today that comes from Ridge Pike that will be captured by our stormwater system. What we will be capturing is flow from the gravel area of our site, which also flows towards that same drainage ditch.
So it won't be adding to the flow of water from Ridge Pike necessarily because of the impervious. The impervious is not going to exacerbate the issue that already exists that Mr. Williams talked about.
Well, frankly, because the gravel area exists today, and there are no stormwater management facilities on the site, adding what what Maintain It All is and Gianni are willing to add, would make the situation better.
Okay.
So the easement, I'm sorry, the water that's conveyed by the easement is really coming from Ridge Pike. It's not coming from Maintain It All property.
A little bit of it is coming from Maintain It All's property because there's one inlet in the back, like by a loading area. You can kind of, it's like back bottom left corner of the, Andy will point it out. right there. So that inlet has a little pipe that goes into the culvert. But other than that, all the water in that culvert is coming from Ridge Pike and essentially the state drainage system.
Yeah, one sec. Okay. And are you planning to do anything with that water, or that'll just go into the easement, continue to go into the
It
easement?
would continue to act as it does today.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Wilson? Why don't you come up? Wait, just grab the microphone so we can hear you.
I'm actually going to say something in this guy's defense. That easement that goes underneath there was originally opposed by the Pennsylvania DER, but the owner of the property at that time was allowed to close that ditch off. Pennsylvania DER very rarely allows for full closure of a drainage ditch. And I know this from professional reasons. We won't get into why. The problem that Johnny's running into now is there were insufficient inlets put all the way down through there to allow the current water to run off and into the culvert so it could be managed going down. So instead of going into that culvert that's underground, none of these were big enough by original design, and what's happening is it's all flowing down that way. That's what's causing the problem.
And how do you know this? I mean, I'm not trying to besmirch your character or your reputation or your qualifications, but we don't know you from Adam. What's your professional experience?
I'm a master's degree civil, chemical engineer. I've done sewers lines. I worked for Merck & Company. I've worked with the Pennsylvania DER for air permits in buildings that I was responsible for as construction manager at the Merck facility in West Point, Pennsylvania. I've also built facilities in Italy, France, England, Ireland, Singapore.
But facilities
Germany,
meaning
buildings.
Buildings, okay.
Right.
All right.
So I've dealt with.
This is an ancillary issue to building construction, I suspect.
Yes, it is. You have to deal with it all the time.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And that's the problem. So if this is actively going to handle that runoff with some kind of design to
But
basin.
what runoff are you talking about?
I'm talking about the existing runoff that's coming here, because none of the runoff that comes here, that's not big enough to accept.
That's not
the
taking
runoff.
it.
Exactly. So now, what I'm hearing is going in the positive direction. That's what I want to say.
Perfect, okay. So, Mr. Hirsch, can you testify, or can you opine as to your review of the existing culvert and Mr. Williams's comments? I mean, or do you subscribe to those in terms of there's insufficient inlets to take that water off?
So we didn't do an analysis of the existing culvert for me to be able to confirm that, but I can
Fair.
say that from my experience as a municipal engineer in Montgomery County, that it wouldn't surprise me if the capacity of that culvert was undersized for the current drainage areas.
Could the existing, what are we calling it, a cauldron? Culvert be used in the water management of the solution you're proposing? Could you use a combination of both?
We wouldn't really, in a design like this, we wouldn't want to kind of open up that can of worms there. I think that the best strategy is what we're proposing, and it is to provide new stormwater management facilities that meet current standards that can be sited elsewhere on the property.
And you will ensure of that through the conceptualized water management that will become a detailed design that will be reviewed by the township engineer.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do you have a concept as to what the cost is going to be for the installation of the stormwater management? Ballpark.
I would say around $50,000 to $100,000.
Okay. Economics has a factor in all this. It's not a controlling one, but it's just a factor. That's why I
Understood.
asked.
Okay, that, question. Thank you. Anything else for?
I don't have anything for Jim. I just have a few questions for Gianni.
Great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, thank you.
Gianni, have you heard that number about the stormwater facilities yet, or is that the first
I
time?
know
you're-
it's going to be an investment to make an improvement to the property.
Okay, all right. Why don't you introduce yourself to the board and just describe your relationship with the applicant entity, Cala King Investments?
My name's Gianni Calabretta. I'm the managing member of Cala King Investments LLC.
Okay. And you acquired the property in 2015, is that correct?
Yes, I believe it was July of 2015.
Okay. And what's in the exhibit packet right there, and what we can pull up on the screen, is that a copy of the recorded deed for this property?
Yes, that is it.
And that shows ownership in the applicant entity, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And are you also the owner of Maintain It All?
Yes,
Okay. And when was that business formed?
2011.
Okay. And can you just describe for us the nature of Maintain It All's business?
Yes, we're an exterior property maintenance business. We work on residential and commercial properties
Okay. And are you involved in the day-to-day operations of Maintain It All?
every day.
Okay. And how many employees do you have at Maintain It
Right
All?
now, we're just under 50.
Okay. Great. Prior to acquiring the property in 2015, did you contact the township regarding your intended use of the property?
Yes, once we looked at the property, we talked to the township about what we were looking to do, and we talked to them pretty extensively about our use.
Okay. And did the township happen to issue a letter indicating that you could proceed with the use that you had discussed with the township?
Yes,
Okay. And if you look at what's marked as Exhibit A6, is that a copy of the letter that you received from the township back in 2015?
yes,
Okay. And we've heard about the expansion of the gravel area in the rear through Jim's testimony and the questions from the board and the board's solicitor. But can you just explain how that expansion evolved for you?
sure. So as our business started to grow from 2015, acquiring more trucks, more equipment, trailers, things of that nature, we began to start just parking a little bit further into that area, mostly things we weren't using every day, extra trailers or a piece of equipment, snow removal operations, things that are seasonal. We'd put some plows back there, things we weren't using day to day, material storages. So we just kind of used it for extra space there. As more parking was needed for day-to-day operations, more employees, things like that. So we just had a need for a little bit more space to continue storing those things.
Okay. So would you agree that that existing gravel area was not of adequate size as your business continued to grow, which generated the need to further extend?
Correct. For our operations and what we need to run our business day to day, we needed more space.
Okay. And as you were looking for the additional outdoor space, did you give any consideration to possibly using some of the existing impervious areas on the property?
We did. We tried to pack as many things as we could in the existing area. It just started to become a parking and access problem where we just were not able to fit it all in the existing space, just for, the way the property flows too with the drive aisles and exit routes. We just couldn't make it work.
Okay. And then at some point in time, you were contacted by the township regarding the expansion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after you were contacted by the township, what happened then?
I reached out to them to see what we needed to do, and that's when I engaged with Gilmore. And then, from that point, we sat down, talked with the township and the township engineer to come up with a way to resolve this, and that's when we started designing these plans.
Okay. And if we can go back to A4, which is the site plan. Familiar with this plan, right, Gianni?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at this plan, can you just describe for the board and tell them exactly how you use the gravel area for your accessory storage needs?
Yeah, so I guess the best way might to explain, if you see the area that says block shed at the very bottom middle of the page, there's a little shed there that we use to store some supplies, and from that point back really would be, I guess, that expanded gravel area would be where we're storing trailers, you know, equipment that we don't use day to day, you know, things like plows and salters. We also have, you know, topsoil stored back there, some sand, mulch, other various kind of small stone materials, just kind of extra or ancillary storage. So that'd be the gist of it.
Okay. And then if you go from that shed extending towards Ridge Pike, is that used for more of your day-to-day operations?
Yes, that's where we park all of the trucks that go in and out day to day. Most of our daily use of materials are used in there. Things we're grabbing every single day are being used in that area. You know, there's a large dumpster in that area that gets picked up routinely. So anything that we're doing, you know, most of our work is those vehicles and equipment are parked in that area.
Okay. And aside from just trying to keep a very organized area out there, can you just explain to the board a little bit about why you have to separate those daily activity areas versus sort of the
Sure.
more passive storage area?
Yeah, well, number one, the simple thing is, you know, this area really is stoned a lot better, the existing stone lot. So it's better to park on because the kind of ancillary expanded gravel area is still, it's very muddy. We didn't put a ton of stone back there. It's still stone, but just to minor stabilize. We haven't added much stone in the past, you know, many years. And this is just closer to the building where the employees can gain access, where we just have more, you know, trucks starting and parking day in and day out. And we realize that that back corner is abutted to some residential properties, and, you know, there's no reason for us to bother anybody back there and try to keep things quiet.
Okay. And if you were able to obtain the variance that's being requested this evening, would you be agreeable to use that outdoor gravel area exactly how you've described it to the board this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, where's the McLennan pointer? Do you have it? Because then
Do you
maybe
need it?
maybe Mr. Calabretta can use that to show, you're talking about these things and we're not necessarily on the site, so.
Yeah.
But go ahead, I'm sorry. If you had more
That's all right.
questions.
John, does that pointer work on that screen? Maybe it doesn't show.
It's supposed to, it's the green one. Where's the green one?
Is there another button on here?
This guy?
Is that the green one? There
Oh,
you
you got it.
go.
Why don't you just
Yeah, I'll
show the
re-summarize that.
delineation of the areas that you
So
just
kind of
described?
from right here where this block shed is, this is our main kind of parking area from about here to here.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again, Mr. Calabretta.
Yes.
The microphone can't pick you up
Sorry.
as well, and I know you're turning away to show us, so I apologize, but
worries.
we want to hear your melodic voice, so.
So from this shed here is kind of that delineation point where we have an access to the upper yard area here. And this is where most of the trucks and equipment and things for day in and day out are being stored. From here back, you know, we have a pile of some soil here, had some soil here, some trailers parked throughout back here. And sometimes this would be used as a turnaround area. Kind of because we have some of these larger trucks and trailers, it's really difficult to do any kind of turning around in this tighter area. So we have used this to kind of drive around. So it's been a driving lane for us to come around and then back in, or kind of do some, you know, access to this point here. So we have a drive lane, a little bit of storage along the perimeter here. Employee parking for us is kind of in this area and this area here. This is where they enter, you know, our warehouse shop, where, you know, they kind of go from here and then go up to the yard to grab their trucks up here.
Thank you. And you've heard the discussion about the stormwater management facilities, and you see them on the plan. You are committed to working with the township and the township engineer to come up with appropriate facilities, as we've discussed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're also a resident of the township. Is that correct, Gianni?
Yes, me and my wife, my 2 children moved to Lower Providence in 2021. So I'm a very committed resident and invested in the community here.
And we've heard from the gentleman in the audience about some work that you've done for your neighbors, but did you discuss this proposal with some of your immediate neighbors?
Yes, I talked with the church, I talked with all the neighbors on the street and got their sentiment on it and made sure I was addressing any concerns that they may have had.
Okay, and you discussed the proposed installation of the fence with the church as well, is that correct?
Yes, the church has plans to do some expansion work in this area, that's starting to get a little closer to our property line. So that was something we talked about, and I was very happy to help them out and make sure, nothing we were doing was affecting them.
Okay, great. Those are all the questions that I have for Gianni. Thank you.
So the area south of the shed, when you purchased the property in 2015, that was not stone or gravel?
I believe it was right around the shed line.
There's a dotted line, I don't know what that conveys, in plot in attachment 3. I guess it kind of doesn't matter today, but.
Yeah. Go ahead. That's Exhibit
Yeah,
3
so
that
it's
we're
kind of
referring
it.
to now, yeah?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, so south of that, in that area there where your
Yeah.
pointer is.
I guess these are I think these are the setbacks from the property
Yeah,
line.
but I mean, so what was that? Was that stone?
Back here?
Yeah.
Grass, some
Grass.
trees, various.
Okay, so that's really the
vegetation.
change.
Yeah.
Because when you purchased it, it was 59%, so it was already non-compliant. It's just more non-compliant now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. Anyone else from the board?
I have a couple quick questions. How many employees park there during the day? You said you had about 50?
I have about 50, so a few people get a ride together, but mostly everybody's in their own vehicle, so it's close to 50.
So you have
40,
50 vehicles?
Let's say 40
parked back there.
vehicles, yeah, parked in there, yeah.
All right.
And obviously we have space, in the front for, Salters for their store. They utilize this front parking area. Yeah,
Right.
about right the halfway point here to the front, they kind of use all this parking right around their immediate entrance.
And just for the record, we're referring to A4.
And quickly, I know you started your business in 2011, you bought the property in 2015.
Yes, sir.
But the timeline from, Chris was mentioning, it went from 59% to 83% impervious. What's the timeline of that, from 59 to 83?
Yeah, it was very little by little. It definitely wasn't immediate. I would say not the first year or two. I'd say probably around the third year or so. From 2015 to today, we're 2.5 times size company. So great growth, in the community here, and I would say it probably started in 2018, 19, and kind of year by year, 1 or 2 more pieces of equipment and truck, and
Yeah,
little by
well,
little.
congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And when did the township approach you?
I believe it was in almost a year ago,
year
January
ago?
or February of
Okay.
last year. We kind of started this process.
And was there a complaint or anything about why the township approached you?
That's what we were told. There was somebody noticed that there was things being stored in that back area that weren't there before, I guess, or it was someone made a comment about it.
Okay, all right. And just, curious, did you have an idea that the impervious coverage was so much, 83%? I mean, you're in the business.
Sure.
You
I
put in
understand that.
driveways, you know the zoning laws. Did you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, I knew that, it wasn't really permitted in a sense that, we weren't paving the area. I knew I wasn't taking as far as paving it and creating some major water problems. And again, the little bit of stone that was put there was to stabilize kind of things that were sitting in place. So if you went back there today, your feet would be in mud. I mean, it's dirt, but again, somewhat compacted, that causing a little bit of an issue. So, I knew not to go as far as paving things and putting concrete down,
Okay.
and just parking vehicles. I was hoping it wasn't going to cause much of an issue.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
It is an odd-shaped lot, the back corner. So are there, the 3 plots of ground there, are they residential homes?
These
those-
three are.
These 3 are. So is there any buffer between you and them now?
Yes, that whole kind of where the stormwater starts to come out here. This is the little head wall here where that large pipe empties the water. And then it kind of, like these property lines are, this is all woods. You know, the fence or where this person's backyard really stops is about here.
Gotcha.
And then from here to here is woods, you know, so we're all woods here. That water's kind of flowing from here down, and it's all, this whole area is all wooded.
Okay, thank you. Mike, could you give us a Google shot, just so we can see what it actually looks like? Thank you.
In the interim, I'm sorry, Mr. Pucci, do I have
Go.
a chance? So, Mr. Calabretta, you talked about the sentiment of your neighbors.
Yes.
And what was the sentiment of your neighbors?
They were fine. They, you know, I've done work for them and they understood what I was doing. They didn't have any issues that I couldn't address for them.
And when you said you did work for them, did you do work that dealt with surface water or?
We've done some small drainage projects on the road. There's one that I can recall recently. One of the neighbors across the street just would always get this huge puddle of water in his driveway. And they're actually, and I'll show you on the plan, it actually does kind of go into that culvert area as well. So across the street, that water, there is a pipe that goes under West Mount Kirk towards that same conveyance system. And that water was supposed to go there, but due to grading and when they repaved the road, it caused an issue. So we helped clear out his puddle and actually get it to properly run off so he didn't have this huge pond in front of his driveway.
Mr. Williams is your biggest fan, I have to say. He's back there, he's nodding his head, he's shaking it, he's telling you that you're spot on, just so that you know. So that ordinarily we have people who are here to hammer and tongs and they're fighting about stuff, and that's not what you have here, which is great. So, are you looking for an aerial, Joe?
I was, yeah.
There's
Google Earth.
I guess there's a street view. You can see sort of the buffering.
Yeah,
there.
really looking for a Google Earth view. It's kind of coming down in bird's eye view.
So, Mr. Calabretta, you talked about the increase in your business, et cetera, which is wonderful. We want to encourage that, of course. As a consequence, have you brought on more employees from when you were there in 2015?
Oh, yes.
How many more do you think?
30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's would translate into about 30 more vehicles, presumably, right?
Correct.
So when you received this letter from the township in May, this is Exhibit A6, May 8th of 2015, do you remember where it said there will be no increase in parking areas or impervious coverage? That's in the third from the bottom paragraph.
I do see that.
You didn't remember that when you started to expand?
I did not.
And then also in the second from the bottom paragraph, it says any changes to the building and/or site will require permitting and possibly land development. Did you remember that when you were doing your expansion?
No, I did not pull this back out.
Okay. So, as Mr. Pucci had alluded to when he asked you some questions, the explanation that I gathered from it was that this was a gradual process. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So as you expanded year by year, you added to the location, correct? It wasn't as if one day you said, I'm just going to go ahead and add the stone or paving or whatever that would be impervious. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
How long you been doing this business?
2011, but I started in construction as a kid. My dad has a small concrete company, so
And how many years would that be that you've been doing this business?
25 years.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, Mr. Pucci, your show.
No, can you take it up a few thousand feet? I just wanted to see where the neighbors were in conjunction. Now the other way. Take it out, yeah. So they're the neighbors there, and there's the buffer, the trees you're talking
Yeah,
about.
this is that whole buffer.
Okay, all right, great.
That's where that storm water runs from
Right.
here to there and then down.
And where's it go from there?
I looked on the plans, even looking up on, I've looked at this too, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere. I mean, it just like he said with the issue, where that water goes into the neighborhood, it just kind of doesn't go into any kind of waterway or any kind of management
No,
system. But
go.
I'm not
No.
sure where it goes from there. I think Mr. Williams might know.
Williams, you gotta come up to the mic, though.
I can tell you where it used to go, okay?
Into your yard, probably.
No, actually, I'm there, okay? And the neighbor that they helped is right in down along here from the runoff. This is all, but the runoff problem here is also as exasperated by the properties that are along Ridge Pike on this side, on the same side.
South side?
On the south side, yeah, because there are properties up here that I can tell you are 95% impermeable.
But how can that be?
You guys have to answer that question. If you go to the property on the corner of Oakland and Ridge.
What is the
there-
property?
It's where the restaurant is located, the bistro. There's, the only permeable ground on that lot is approximately 3 feet wide by, maybe 20 yards long. The rest, and I can tell you from a personal experience that the runoff, if you remember, Oakland Avenue was considered one of the worst streets for ingress into the sewer system because of runoff. And Oakland was one of the first streets where they redid the sewer system. That property at that corner was directing its runoff into the sewer system. And I know that for a fact because I showed the township inspector where it was being dumped into the sewer system.
So we're getting a little off topic, but I hear
We're
you.
getting off topic.
So what
But the
else do we need
point
to
is-
know to answer your question?
I'm good there. So,
That's
thank you.
right.
So that's running down this way.
Yeah, thank you. So, just kind of a
Well,
quick,
it went across the street and was behind, if you know along Church Road, the residents on the west side of Church Road, there was a drainage ditch that ran all the way along through there. So that culvert that you saw used to go under Ridge Pike and capture the runoff and kind of fill that swell that went on the other side of Ridge Pike until it was blocked off.
thank you so much. Thank you. I'm not an expert in this, but right now, the gravel is considered impervious, right? But
Yes.
yet, some of the gravel is not impervious, some's leaking through it. So are the plans to blacktop the impervious area that we're talking about and then add the water?
As of now, I don't have plans to make that investment to blacktop it as ancillary storage. Really wouldn't be in that value of what I'm trying to do with the space of just park a few things back there. So I would keep it gravel. And the goal would be really to improve this whole runoff system by, installing stormwater management along this edge to kind of collect anything that's flowing down here from the church down. As you can see, most of our operations are going here and, it's not a ton of activity going on back there.
So along those lines, when you design the stormwater management facility, will you design it for pavement or gravel?
We would work with your township engineer to determine, how best to analyze that situation. A lot of township engineers, and including myself, would consider it to be nearly 100% impervious as a gravel situation because he's going to continue to drive the trucks on it and the machines on it, and it's going to essentially compact down into be very near impervious, same as a blacktop.
So it sounds like there's blacktop in our future. That's the question, I think, is what they're
Yeah,
getting
so
at.
like, my question is
Well,
like, are we gonna,
I think that what Gianni just said is that he didn't have plans to blacktop it.
Right, but if we give him the variance, then all gloves are off, he can do whatever he wants, right?
Yes, you would also be free to attach whatever
Conditions,
you
and that's
felt
where I'm
reasonable.
going, which is, would he agree not to blacktop the area? Because as Mr. Pucci's referring to, there may be some seepage that gets through, although, as you point out, it's basically the same thing in terms of blockage, right?
Yes, that's correct. I think what I was trying to get across is that the design would be more conservative than his anticipated proposed condition. I will let him speak to whether or not.
Yeah, no, I agree, the same thing, like, if I was granted this variance, we would design the water system to make sure it accounted for if it becomes blacktop. We'll make sure that that design is anticipated.
Okay, great. Because I wouldn't want to have the board place a condition that really wasn't necessary, so that's my question. Okay. Right, Joe?
Yeah, just, so there's no storage of any type of chemicals back there? Any?
Correct, no.
You don't plan to get into the lawn care business and
No.
keep pesticides and stuff in the back there, so?
Absolutely not, no.
No chemicals. You mentioned soil. You have
Soils,
soil or,
mulches.
Mulch, stuff like that, but-
Stone, sand,
but
kind of
no,
natural
no
materials.
chemicals?
No.
Salt?
Salt is stored in our facility, and we have bagged salt that is stored in a container, but that's contained.
Okay.
All right, so there's a few items that the ordinance requires us to ask you. So whenever you're seeking a variance, there's a 5-part test that your lawyer's going to argue in a few minutes to us as to what satisfies those 5 parts. But the other considerations are somewhat numerous. So you say about 50 people who park there.
Correct.
And is there more capacity for you in that location to bring in more people?
I believe at the point we're at in business right now, we kind of hit our growth in our stride. So it's kind of, the growth over the past year or so has kind of shown that we're going to stay consistently growing. I don't see us, obviously I know we can't put 100 people in this
So there's
building.
a room for some growth there still.
And that's why we want the entire, area,
Right.
concerned. So this will allow for a little bit of natural growth.
So one of the considerations is that the variance to be considered by this board, the question is, will it substantially increase traffic congestion in the streets surrounding the subject site? What can you say to us about that? You think it's going to have any impact upon that?
As of what's going on now, for that change, I would say, what time we get there and what time we leave. They're coming in once a day, we're leaving once a day, so they're not coming back and forth in the middle of the day.
Well, tell
so-
us about that. When do they come and when do they leave?
Yeah, we start at 7, and then they get back around 4 to 5 o'clock, sometimes 3, sometimes earlier, so anywhere 3 to 5 o'clock. But it's one time here and one time out. We're not constantly driving back and forth to the shop. We're
Have
at
you
a
rec-
site most of the day.
Have you received any complaints from any neighbors about the noise or everybody congregating there at once?
Years ago, it's at least 5 years, but, one time there was, we started early. Maybe we started probably too early that day and it was a little bit loud.
Okay, but it's not a consistent complaint
No,
that you receive?
no.
So will it increase the risk of fire or panic or otherwise endanger the public safety that you can think of?
No.
How about overcrowd the land or create undue concentration of population? Obviously, the population is temporary. They're there and then they go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Intrude upon the adequacy of natural light and air to adjoining properties. The only concern I would have there is the air quality could be diminished for those 2 times when people come in, particularly if they're coming in with pickup trucks that are diesel or whatever they are, I presume. And I don't imagine they're coming in with Teslas or other electric vehicles.
No, we don't have any electric vehicles yet.
So you don't see it as being intruding upon the natural light or the air to anybody surrounding you?
I don't see that, no.
I'm leading you and I'm helping you here.
Understand.
Create extraordinary burdens on public, private, or community water systems or upon groundwaters or wells within the neighborhood. What do you know about the groundwater there? Anything?
Never had an issue. I mean, we did,
You're connected to public water, I presume.
yes.
I think that's in your application, so.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
you-
not that I'm aware of.
There's no well on the property or anything else?
No.
Okay. overburden the public sanitary sewer system within the township. I mean, how many, do you have people there in the morning and in the afternoon?
Yes, that's it. And, the office staff is somewhat limited for people that would be utilizing those facilities, throughout the day.
How many people are in the office?
10.
It's not like a Super Bowl commercial when everybody gets up and goes at the same time, right? Okay. Occasion any environmental problems, that would be the concern with respect to what you store there, but what you're telling me, it's mulch and dirt, right?
Standard building materials, yeah.
Place undue burdens upon the police, fire, ambulance, or other emergency services. Any call for that? Do you have any, have you had any calls for any of those services in the past since you've been there?
False alarms only.
Cause adverse effects to the appropriate use of adjacent properties. Is it impacting how the people are using their adjacent properties, as far as you know?
No, I've spoken with everyone.
Other than the water runoff that you're trying to address with these facilities, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Cause risk or danger to the safety of persons or property by improper location or design of facilities for ingress and egress, which, I don't know, Mike, if you could go back to the street view, or Tina, if you could, that would be great, because you have access both on Mount Kirk and Ridge, correct?
Correct.
And when you have that access, so for example, if you go down further behind the building, that's an access point, correct?
This is the entrance, and this is your two-way in and out here. And this is your main, this is one way that you would go in and go to the front of the building. Here's where our vehicles go in and out, mostly to access area in the back.
So then they would come in or access or exit by Mount Kirk, correct?
Typically, yeah, we're coming out here.
And what's at the head of Mount Kirk, or the intersection with Ridge? It's just a stop sign?
For the exit there, it's a stop sign and a right only.
Okay, it's a right only. But then on Ridge, do you use that as an access point?
Mostly employees leave, and any trucks and things are typically coming out of this area.
Do you have a rule that says that, or they just, for convenience, do it?
It's just convenience and easier, and it's just safer coming out to here and going out than pulling out on the ridge from
Okay.
that point.
And you haven't had any complaints with respect to that usage off of Mount Kirk?
No accidents, no issues out front there. Nothing's ever happened at that entry or an exit point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mike, there's no concerns with the number of parking spots, where there's not a variance or any concern with that?
Sorry, I'm not aware of any issues, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, Mr. Williams, do you have any other questions or comments you'd like to make? Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else?
That's all that I have, other than I can address the closing if you'd like, very
Sure.
briefly.
Well, before you do that,
Yeah.
do you want to do housekeeping, or do we do that
I would just
after?
ask my exhibits be admitted into the record, accepted into the record.
Any objections, Mr. Williams, or anybody else in the audience? None, so they're admitted. Let's do the documents first. That way, if we have to have anybody talk about the documents. When I say documents, we're just doing the due process documents, the notice documents. So, what we have on the screen, Mr. Calabretta, is a document that's entitled Certificate of Revised Posting, because as you probably know, the previous posting or the previous advertisement had some errors in it, so you folks were kind enough to agree to continue this so that we could get the advertising correct. And this ultimately was a additional posting of the property with notice of this hearing. Do you have any objection to us as marking that as B1 for Board 1? I'm sure your counsel has no objection.
No objection, no, yep.
This is the letter that would have been sent to folks within 500 feet of your location, informing them of this hearing and the relief that you're requesting. Any objection to this being included as B2?
No objection.
This is a mailing matrix which lists all the folks who are within 500 feet. And I often joke that this is a good Christmas list for you. So you only have a few days left to send nice notes to your neighbors. Do you have any objection to us including that as B3?
No objection.
The next item is a certificate of notification that indicates that the letter that was B2 was sent to those folks that are named on B3. We're going to mark this as B4. Any objection to that?
No, sir.
Other than that, we don't have any additional documents, but typically what we get is we get the advertisement proof of publication back, but not in time for the hearing. So we would supplement that on the record as B5. Any objection to that?
That's fine. No objection.
And might I ask for completeness of the record that the application that was submitted in this case, that was your, you have a copy? Okay, great, thanks. Because Mr. Pucci stole mine. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. So, Mr. Calabretta, you signed this document, is that correct?
Yes.
Everything in it's true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes.
And we can mark that as as applicant 7. Is that okay?
That's okay. Yes, sir.
No objection,
No
great.
objection.
Thanks so very much. Now your show to tell us why it satisfies the 5-part test.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity this evening and the thoughtful questions and all the time that you put into this particular application. I know you have 3 more after us. As you know, we are requesting a dimensional variance, a single dimensional variance. With respect to a dimensional variance, I'm sure you've heard this before. Zoning hearing boards are provided a little more latitude in terms of the 5-part test that's been referenced or the criteria for a variance. I think we have a little bit of a hardship and a unique situation here with respect to this particular property that makes it different from others. It's split zoned, it's fully improved, there's multiple uses, there's multiple buildings on this site, and the impervious coverage limitations that apply in the R2 and in the Ridge Pike Business District just simply don't account for the commercial uses that are permitted on this particular site. Essentially, it can't be used for any other uses than it's really used for today under that split zoning. I think the plan that's been proposed is a reasonable plan, and it proposes the minimum amount necessary of additional impervious in order for maintain it all to make adequate use of the outdoor area for its existing business operations. Obviously, they've experienced some growth. They require the additional space. They've been thoughtful and mindful of the extent to which they're going to finish with this particular expansion. And I think they're being thoughtful and mindful of their neighbors in terms of trying to propose appropriate stormwater management facilities in order to address that additional impervious. Obviously, we'll have to coordinate with the township engineer and the township on that process if we're successful obtaining the variances. I think that Gianni has gone to great lengths to reach out to his neighbors to make them aware of this particular application. Obviously, notice of this hearing went out to the neighbors, and as a result, I don't believe that this proposal is going to result in any negative or adverse impact on the manner in which they use their property or the manner in which they may want to develop their property in the future. And with the stormwater management facilities that are being proposed, I don't think there's going to be any adverse impact or negative impact on the public health, safety, and welfare, generally speaking, as a result of the requested relief. So with that, I would submit to you that the board has enough evidence in the record in order to grant the dimensional variance that's being requested. Thank you. And that's all. Thanks for your time again. Happy holidays.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any last questions from the board? Okay, then we're going to pause for a few minutes and we're going to go in the back room and deliberate. Okay, we're back, and Gary, I believe you have a motion to make.
Yes, I'll make a motion, the application of Cala King Investments LLC, docket number Z-24-28, for variance from section 143-262, section E of the Lower Providence Township zoning ordinance to permit maximum impervious coverage of 83 1/10%, where 50% is the maximum in the RPB Ridge Pike Business District is granted, subject to the following conditions. Construction placement shall be as per the plans introduced in the evidence in this case. The install of the fence to separate the church property is per the plan, and to provide a stormwater management facilities as approved by township, designed to address maximum impervious surface conditions.
before you get into that one. So you want to vote on that one?
Okay, do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Gary?
The second motion is the application of Cala King Investments LLC, docket number Z-24-28, for variance from section 143, section 37, section B of the Lower Providence Township zoning ordinance to permit maximum impervious coverage of 83 1/10%, where 35% is the maximum in the R2 residential district, is granted, subject to the following conditions. Construction placement shall be as per the plans introduced into evidence in this case. The installation of the fence to separate the church property as per plan, and to provide a stormwater management facilities as approved by the township, designed to address a maximum impervious surface condition.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Congratulations. Approved.
Thank you all.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, very good. We are going to transition to our second hearing, and Tejal, you're going to read that for us, please?
Sure. Z-24-27, El Sayed, 4047 Carden Place, Eagleville, PA 19403. The applicant is proposing to reconstruct a home that was destroyed by an explosion and fire. The applicant seeks relief from section 143-52.C to allow the mixing of permitted dwelling types, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. The parcel ID of the subject property is 43-00-01994-86-1. The subject property is located at 4047 Carden Place and is in the R4 residential zoning district. This matter was continued from November 26, 2024.
Thank you, Tejal. Mr. Said, so you were here last month to present this to us. We don't need to swear Mr. Said in, right?
Record remains open, so you're still under oath.
Okay, and you were, you committed to going away and reviewing several things with homeowners associations. Could you bring us up to speed on what you did over the last month?
If I may, please.
And he's still sworn in as well, right?
Yeah,
And
give
what
us
was
your name again.
sir?
My name is Roderick Wedlow
Roderick,
Lawson.
I like the Roderick name, right.
Thank you.
What's your last name, Mr.
Wedlow
Roderick?
Lawson.
Roderick Lawson, okay.
Okay. I was requested to submit some information to the homeowners association, which I did. Today I received an email from one of the secretaries there that indicated that some of the stuff that I sent wasn't correct or needed to be corrected or whatever like that. I sent that to her as well. The lawyer for the HOA also received some documentation today, and I also have the other documentation. One being the insurance information that lists HOA and Mr. El Said as additionally insured on my commercial insurance policy, and a formal agreement indicating some things that we plan to do for the property.
So that just happened?
Today, yes. I received that email from one of the secretaries today, and I brought that information with me as well.
Is anybody here from the association?
Yes, Samantha Sisney, the attorney for the association. I was here last time as well, entered my appearance. Just to clarify, they did provide the plans that they had submitted last time from the architect. The architect
is here as well.
He is, okay. They submitted them on or about December 5th, so we have had them and we have had a chance to review. I believe the documents you were specifying were in regards to the architectural request to the association for the specifications, which are not really relevant to the variance request.
But what's your position? Did you folks get together in this last month to try and work out?
Yes, we are not opposed to them proceeding if the documents that they have provided us are confirmed. And we do believe that they did provide us a letter from the architect who is here, which I was not sure if he was, so I wouldn't
Yeah, he's
want
not
us
wearing
to-
an architect's jacket or anything. Come on up, Mr. Architect. Why don't you come over here where your client is, and we can You can come over here. She can stay there, but you can come over there.
There we go.
I want you can pick it out of there. You're old enough to remember it's Phil Donahue, although he recently died. You can walk around with that if you'd like.
And we're gonna swear him in?
Yes.
Swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Can you state your name as well?
My name is Douglas Milliken, Milliken.
Okay, so do you have questions for him so that we can sort of expedite this hearing?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that it's your position that if a single unit is built, and there's 2 townhomes that still need to be built, sandwiched in between that one end unit seeking to be built and the 2 on the other end, that it is possible, feasible, and structurally sound to do so?
The building code requires that townhomes be structurally independent from each other.
Okay.
So yes.
And have you been out to the property site?
Oh, several times.
Okay. And do you believe, based on the location of where the end unit will go, that the other 2 units will be able to be built conceptually, that there's enough room for construction to occur without going on the common element with construction vehicles moving forward if the
I have
end
no
unit
doubt.
is there?
Yeah.
Okay. We have no further questions then, and we do not oppose the request at this time.
Great. Is there anybody else in the audience who has anything that they want to say about this application? Oh, okay. Are you a newbie? Come on up. We didn't see you last month, I don't think. Otherwise, I'd have recognized
Are
you.
you gonna ask a question, or are you gonna testify?
No, I'm actually here to, in support of their request.
Okay, then how about we swear you in? And tell us where you live, too.
Whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
State your name as well.
Pradeep Srinivasan,
Spell that.
Pradeep Srinivasan.
And sir, where do you live relative to the home being potentially
So
being
I'm the owner
constructed?
of the 4043 and 4045, which is the adjacent 2 units.
So you own the adjacent two units?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
That are empty at this point, that are not
They are empty at this
constructed.
point.
And you support this?
I do support this because we have the same architect who have prepared the plans.
Lucky
And-
guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. You have a question? Come on up and ask the question. What- About this case?
It's either yes or no.
I
It's
mean,
not.
when's he gonna build his property? Is that what you wanna know?
That's the question. We wouldn't be here. If they would have all came in together, we wouldn't be here. And this poor man wouldn't have spent $800 to come
Okay.
in front of you folks. Because they would have all went to Mike at the same time. That's
So
my
do you
question.
wanna find out, and what's your plan? Come on back up.
That's my question.
When are you gonna construct something out there so it's not an eyesore and these nice people can ultimately live in a nice, cohesive, calm neighborhood?
Yeah, we have already submitted our request to the building department, and they had come out with some requests on that one. So
Building department of the township?
Yeah, I already reached out to them with the plans, our current plans, what we intend to do. We had already submitted to them, and one of the things I think I spoke to somebody. I don't remember who it was, but somebody did mention that one of the concerns was to have everybody. All the 3 properties to be built at the same time.
That's optimal, but obviously the question is, what's your plan?
My plan is to, in 2025, we will be starting the construction on that.
When do you want to start the construction? I'm sorry?
In 2025.
2025, okay.
Sometime in the first quarter.
First quarter. And then what are you gonna do with those properties? Are you gonna occupy them, or are you gonna rent them, or what are you gonna do?
Those properties are not, I do not plan on occupying them. They are either going to be resold or
Okay.
plan on renting them.
All right. I think that answers some questions that people in the audience had, I believe. Or does that create more questions?
Do you intend to work together with them at all? Are you using a different builder?
So we are using a different builder. They are using a different builder, but we plan to coordinate and do things. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
It's just a big, happy family. We love it. Okay.
Whatever level of babysitting I have to do, I have a duty of care to both projects, and therefore I have to attend to whatever everybody needs me to, to attend to.
The Architect's Code of Ethics, you'll gotta love it, so.
And we have to do it whether we get paid for it or not.
Awesome.
And it's better than everybody winding up in court later on
Yay. We like it.
and looking at me, wondering why I didn't help. So
Okay.
it's better to do that.
Great, thank you. You're the Mr. Williams of this event. You had a question. Come on up and tell us who you are. I think you testified last time, or you expressed a concern.
I can,
You have a question, or you want to talk?
no, I did have a question. So were the plans sent to the
But I'm sorry, let's back up. Who are you and where you live?
Kelly Gates, Kelli, Gates, Gates. I'm 4037. On the other end of the whole property.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Pradeep, you said that you sent the information to the township or to the HOA?
No, both to the township as well as the HOA.
Okay, because I know there was some things on the backside for the HOA to finish it, because otherwise we wouldn't be in this situation, because that was the whole thing, is have all three of them together, work together, because in the
Like herding
scheme of
cats, I
things-
get it, it's difficult, but.
Right, and, you know, he needs to have his
Just so
house.
to be
and-
on record,
Yeah.
the HOA is
Come on up. You got to talk into the microphone because this gets all recorded, and the people who watch these things because they don't have a life will not be able to hear
The HOA
you.
is kind of pretty unresponsive. This is not the first time I have reached out to them. I have reached out to them multiple times, and they are very unresponsive. That's my observation at this point of time. If there is something you guys could do
I mean,
to
I
help
can't,
us.
I can't do because that also,
Obviously,
the resident
you are
there,
here.
I'm on the board.
So you can contact me.
Yeah, or you can
Or we
contact
all work
Sam, because
together.
we did, same thing that El Said did, provided us with some documentation. There was some, items that were not completely clear and/or, they
Well, I-
weren't within the scope, so we did go back and ask some more questions, and then we didn't hear anything back.
Well, I
So
think that you
can't
folks
do
have to get
anything.
together outside of here so that you can sort that out. But at least you have a little bit more information than you had when you came in here tonight.
Okay,
Fair?
fair, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. So Keith, I don't think we did exhibits for,
Let's try that, Tina, because we missed you last month. I don't think you were here.
she was here.
She was? I obviously was not then. Let's go through this and make sure. In other words, Mr. Said, we don't need you to testify anymore. We have what we need, so we're going to go through this information and ask if there's any objection to our including this in the record. First things first, your application that you submitted in this case, we're going to mark that as A1. That's, you remember the application that you submitted in this case? And that's true and correct? You signed it, correct? Any objection to our including that in the record as A1? Okay. Now, the board exhibit, certificate of posting. You were here earlier when I explained this. This certificate of posting, we're going to mark this as B1. It indicates that the property was posted with the information regarding the application. Any objection to us including that in the record? Any objection? No. Okay. Next item is going to be the letter, I suspect, which is going to be B2. Oh, this is certificate of posting. I'm sorry. What do you have before? Okay, but I'm not sure we did the letters before. The record, I just want to make sure the record reflects that B2 would be the letter that would have been sent to the neighbors within 500 feet.
You did, but the dates were unfortunately incorrect.
The dates were unfortunately incorrect.
It said that you guys had a hearing on Thanksgiving and it was continued.
Right, but did we introduce those record? I don't know that we introduced, let's just make sure they're in. So B2 is going to be the letter. Any objection to that letter? No. B3 is going to be the mailing matrix, which lists the people within 500 feet. Any objection to that? The B4 is going to be the certification that the letters were sent. Any objection to that being B4? Okay, and B5 is going to be the newspaper publication, proof of publication. Any objection to that being marked as B5? No. Tim, you got that? Sweet. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just one point of order. Mr. Pucci was not at last month's meeting, but Mr. Kuberski was, so he will be a voting member when we ultimately vote. We're going to pause for a moment and go in the back room and deliberate. Right back. Okay, we are back, and Mark, you have a motion to make.
Yes, I have a motion, proposed motion of the zoning hearing board, the application of El Said docket Z-24-27 for variance from sections 143-52C of the Lower Providence Township zoning ordinance regarding the use regulations that preclude the mixing of permitted dwelling types at 4047 Accordion Place, Norristown, PA 19403, in the R4 residential district is granted, subject to the following conditions. Construction placement shall be as per plans. Number 2, the common wall is constructed to accommodate construction of the adjacent structures in accordance with all applicable codes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Congratulations, your variance is approved. Good luck to you.
Hey.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, we are going to transition to our third hearing, and Gail, you're going to read that for us, please.
Okay, hearing number 3, Z-24-30, Sean and Nicole Nebulis, 24 Pine Tree Drive, Audubon, Pennsylvania, 19403. The applicant is requesting a variance from the requirements in 143-37.a, paragraph 2, to permit construction of a rear addition with a minimum rear setback of 55.8 feet where a minimum of 60 feet is required, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. The parcel ID of the subject property is 43-00-11314-00-1. The subject property is located at 24 Pine Tree Drive and is in the R2 residential zoning district.
Thank you, Gail. Mr. and Mrs. Nevulis, did I say your name right?
Nebulous.
Nebulous, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I take it you don't have a lawyer representing
we
you?
don't.
Okay, in those cases, what we typically do is we ask Mr. Mrozinski to just give us an overview of the variance.
Thank you. Good evening. For the board's consideration is an application to construct a proposed addition where right now a unenclosed deck is in the rear yard of Mr. and Mrs. Nebulis. The proposed structure will encroach into the required rear yard by approximately 4.5 feet, basically being 55.5 feet away from the rear property line where 60 feet is required. There are some existing structures that impact otherwise moving this, along with some slopes. This is basically for additional living space that by the Nebulises. And basically, the contention is that there are similar structures or similar construction projects elsewhere in the neighborhood. There is really a fairly minor, again, it's a 4.5 foot type of addition into the rear yard. It's so it's of relatively small impact, almost de minimis in nature. So for the board's consideration, obviously Mr. and Mrs. Nebulis are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, great, thank you, Mike. Can we swear Mr. and Mrs. Nebulis in, please?
Some Mr. Wright's testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be God.
Yes.
Yes. Can you state your name and spell, please?
Sean, S-H-A-W-N, Nebulous, N-E-V-U-L-I-S.
Nicole, N-I-C-O-L-E, Nebulous, N-E-V-U-L-I-S.
Okay, very good, thank you. So why don't you fill us in on anything?
Mrs.
Mike-
Nevis, you're welcome to sit down. It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Appreciate the time tonight. So to give a little overview of the project, so we currently live in a ranch-style home, and we are proposing to replace our existing deck with an addition that will expand our living space. The addition will include a dining room and a second living room, which are necessary for to accommodate our growing family. My wife and I have 2 young children, and as we continue to outgrow our current layout, we're hoping to make this addition work to better meet our needs. We love our home, we love our neighbors, and we'd like to remain here if possible. Before submitting the proposal, we did speak to our neighbors on each side, behind us, and through the neighborhood. There was no concerns. They actually expressed this support for the project. Given the layout of our property, we believe the proposed location is best for the design and placement of the addition. There's no suitable place on the lot for that space, for this space. We're requesting a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from the required 60 feet to 55.8 feet, a difference of just 4.2 feet. This minor adjustment is necessary to properly place the addition while still respecting the overall appeal of the neighborhood. The requested setback reduction will not block sightlines or disrupt traffic. In fact, the new structure will have a smaller footprint than the current deck, which will decrease the impervious area. We are confident that the addition will blend seamlessly with the existing structure and will not negatively affect the privacy of views of our neighbors. Additionally, several homes in the neighborhood, specifically 4 or 5 others, have made similar rear additions, setting an example for the kind of modification. This shows that our proposal aligns with the character of the neighborhood. The proposed addition maximizes the use of our property, balancing our need for more living space with the constraints of the lot. We believe the variance request is a reasonable solution to meet our family needs while minimizing any negative impact on the community. I've also included a few aerial photos of our deck and backyard to kind of give a little overview of the project, which I could go over as well. Actually, they're up right there. Where's that laser? Is this the laser? Let me see that. So to give you a little overview of what we're doing here, so right here actually would be the addition coming over here to right there, so that little square. We would be losing this part right here as well. So, and this would be, some of this would be going away as also. On the left side, this part would be going away and reduced to grass of some sort, grass or something else. So that's when I spoke about decrease in impervious space, that would be the decrease there. And if you want to go to the other photo, if you don't mind, Mike. And then here's another photo here. You can see where the addition would go, right around here. Plenty of space between us and the neighbor. And also, I don't have a picture of each side, but yeah, it shouldn't be a concern as far as distance between us and the neighbor. But yep, so thank you for your time and consideration, but that's the overall project.
So you said the addition's not going to go any further than, it's going where that edge of that deck is now, basically.
Yeah, it is going a little bit further out.
Okay, it is.
A tad bit further. We wanted to utilize as much space as we could, but
not as far as where that, you said there's 2 pieces of the deck. There's one that cuts out a little further?
Yeah, let me, can you go back to that right here? So it's going to go like from here to actually right there.
So just a little bit out.
Yeah, a little bit out.
But not as far out as that other piece.
No, nope.
Okay.
Nah,
Got
right
it.
here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be turned to grass or whatever else.
And your property is 15,000 square feet, correct, as opposed to the R2 standard of 25,000 square feet?
I'd have to look at, I believe so, if that's what was submitted. I pulled the data from, the website and everything. If it's accurate with that, yes.
It's a narrow lot, correct?
Yeah, it's very narrow and we don't have any room to put the addition anywhere else. It's just awkward situation.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No, and it looks like the impervious coverage is fine via the plan.
Right.
And your 60-foot setback is adhered to at the moment, correct? But for the deck?
Yeah, the deck was already existing when we moved in, so it does lap over that 60-foot setback.
Okay.
Yeah, the part that sticks out though is already, that part there already overlaps. Is that-
Yes, correct. Yep.
That encroaches that jutting out point, right?
Yep.
Now, you said that you had spoken to the neighbors and they're all supportive, but you
Yes.
also said that there were other properties in this general area. Can you tell us a few of those properties where they are by address or?
If you pull it up in Google Maps, I could probably identify a few of them. I don't know the exact numbers, so, but yeah, if we could pull that up. 24 Pine Tree Drive. Unless do you know the numbers? No.
Is it more than 10, less than 10?
I would say on the street, probably 4 or 5, just
4 or
on that
5?
street.
That have what in their, do they have an addition like this that encroaches as well in a similar size lot?
Yeah, definitely, it does approach the setback of 60 feet. All right. Okay, so this house here, there's addition as well. This right here is a major addition. We're not going to that extreme. That actually goes down. The addition, we're actually just doing a 1 level. This one actually is a 2-level addition. And then over here, there's another addition as well. And then one right here as well. And I'd have to zoom in more, but there's definitely others in the neighborhood.
They're similarly sized lots.
Yeah, definitely. Very
So these houses were probably developed all at the same time, it sounds like.
Yeah.
How old's
Yep.
your house?
What was it, 1960?
1955.
Or 55.
Yeah, let's get
sorry.
her involved because she's
Yeah,
here all
sorry, I'm
night, so
not-
she's got to testify too, so that's good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did she? Yeah, she did. So yeah, it's 1955. Is that right?
Yeah, 1955, correct.
Yep.
At or about the time the zoning ordinance was passed, so I guess they didn't really pay much attention then.
Yeah.
That's your house with the
The
little
dot.
icon, right?
Yeah.
So what's behind your yard? Is that a home?
Well, right here is just wooded
That's your
area.
property line there?
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Fencing
so.
and then just a play
all
area
right.
for our
Yeah, and
kids.
Right.
this is all. You know.
That's that's a neighbor.
Neighbor.
Yeah, this is our neighbor down here.
And that neighbor appears to have a deeper lot than yours.
Yeah. Yep. They got.
So
one
they're probably much more than 60 feet from your property line.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So unless they're going to build themselves a playhouse in the back or something,
Right.
there's no real encroachment.
Yeah. And I spoke with this neighbor, and he was happy. He was like, "Do whatever you want. I don't care." So.
He's a real libertarian.
Do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Tejal, Gil? We do housekeeping? Well,
Yes.
First off, is there anyone in the audience who has any questions? Testify? No. Okay, now we're exhibits.
All right, so you were here earlier and you saw what we did with these exhibits. First thing I want to do is your application. We're going to mark this as A1, and this has been signed by both of you, it appears, or is it just
Yeah, it's a.
Sean? Yes, I see. Everything's true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief in this document, correct?
Correct. Yep.
All right, we're going to mark that as A1. Any objection to that?
Nope.
A2 is this packet of plans. Thank you for bringing the plans and sending them in ahead of time. Often people don't do that.
Yeah, sure.
So you're doing it to help yourself and to help us. There's four pages here of plans, and it's from Ash Associates from Ambler.
Yep.
It's a site plan. We're going to mark this. It starts as a site plan, then it goes to an architectural rendering of the buildings. We're going to mark this as, excuse me, A2. Any objection to that?
No.
All right, now, on the screen is a certificate of posting, which indicates that the property was posted with a sign that said that this application was going to be heard today. Any objection to that being marked as B1?
No.
Next one is the letter that would have been sent to people within 500 feet of your property indicating that there was going to be this application and hearing. Any objection to marking that as B2?
No.
Then there's a mailing matrix which shows the people who are within 500 feet of your property. Any objection to that being marked as B3?
No.
Next is the certificate of notification that the letter was sent to those people on the mailing matrix. Any objection to that being marked as B4?
No.
And finally would be the proof of publication that the property was advertised in a newspaper of general circulation. Any objection to that being marked as B5?
No.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, any last questions by the board? Good. Very good. Yeah, I know.
Gail.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then I believe, Gail, you have a motion that you would like to make.
I'd like to make a motion regarding the application of Sean and Nicole Nebulous, docket number Z-24-30, for variance from section 143-37.a, paragraph 2 of the Lower Providence Township zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a rear addition with a minimum rear yard setback of 55.8 feet, where a minimum of 60 feet is required in the R2 residential district. I'd like to propose that well, first of all, the construction and place is subject to the following conditions. Construction placement shall be as per the plans introduced into evidence in this case. And I propose that we do grant the variance.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Congratulations, your plan's
All right.
approved.
Thank you. Appreciate
See
it.
how well you did. You surpassed everyone else.
That was good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good,
Thank you.
holiday.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more presentation for this evening, and that's hearing number 4. And Joe, you're going to introduce us to that.
Yes. Hearing number 4, Z24-31, Ken Bollinger, 586 Old York Road, Edders, PA, 17319. The applicant seeks relief from section 143-141.3 H, paragraph parentheses 1, to allow for the wall sign of the 63.43 square foot where a maximum of 32 square foot is permitted, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. Parcel ID of the subject property is 43-00-11896-00-4. The subject property is located at 2739 Ridge Pike and is in the RPBD Ridge Pike Business Zoning District.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And Mr. Bollinger, I take it?
I'm Matt. On behalf of Ken Bollinger.
Okay.
So you're Matt who designed, Matt Weiser?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to have some difficult questions for you, Mr. Weiser.
Before we get started, we're going to ask Mike Mrzinski to just run us through the request.
Okay, good evening. For the board's consideration is an application for a new sign for a new business coming into the township at the Park Ridge Shopping Center. The applicant is representing Crunch Fitness, which is a gym coming into the area, a national firm. The reason for the variance are a couple fold. One is that as a gym, it is a larger use space-wise than a typical space within that shopping center. They are taking basically 2 spaces, and as such, they need signage that would basically incorporate both spaces. That's why they are proposing to, instead of having this standard 32 square foot signage that is on the rim board above these stores, they are looking to place it on the gable, on the which is basically the common entrance over the 2 spaces. That in order to be visible, the sign needs to be bigger than the allowed square footage. The other contingency is that because of the national branding of this corporate entity of Crunch. The size of the logo along with the lettering, which the board will see in their packet, is fitness. Combined comes to 63.43 square feet, where basically if you were to just take the one spot, it would be a 32 square foot type of application. So it is looking to basically combine the two signs into one, make it bigger, locate it up onto the gable there so that it can be basically incorporating the two spaces and also visible from Ridge Pike. This building, for those who are not familiar, does sit back through the back of the parking area in front of the shopping center, which is a considerable distance away from Ridge Pike. And obviously, Mr. Weiser, the designer, is here to answer any further questions for you.
Thanks. Mike, I should have asked this question earlier, but is the correct code referenced? I think it's E1, not H1. I think it's E2, actually. Apologize for not asking that earlier. Because H1 is for Windows.
It's true.
I'd have to pull that up. I don't
Okay,
know that
if you
offhand.
could
I'll
just
look
look at
up
that.
for you.
Okay, can we swear in Mr. Weiser?
Sir, solemnly swear testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yep.
Can you state your name and spell, please?
My name's Matthew Weiser, MattheWeiser.
Before you start, Mr. Weiser, these are my tough questions. Who are you?
I'm the designer for the Bollinger Group.
Well, who's Bollinger Group?
Well, the Bollinger Group is the contractor who's going to do design work for Crunch Fitness.
Who has this location? Who has the lease?
Nick Herman.
Nick Herman. Is Nick Herman a franchisee of Crunch Fitness?
They're a tenant.
A tenant of that space. And they're going to put Crunch Fitness in that space. I'm getting at legal standing because you could be anybody. I don't know who you are.
Oh,
But the owner's not here, the lessee's not here, so the franchisor's not here. Technically, we could say you have to come back later because there's nobody who has legal standing to present this application. You're just the sign guy. Not to diminish your importance, you're very important, don't get me wrong. But I'm just trying to figure out who's the applicant, Michael? Mr. Bollinger really isn't the applicant, he's just a contractor. Did you talk with him before?
Yes, we did speak.
Did he give you any indication as to the person authorizing him to do this? Or, I mean, I see it on the documents, but there's nobody here to testify to that. You're gonna testify to that, I presume, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll take his word for it. What do you think, board? That's the challenge, and I don't want to jam you up, but anybody could come off the street here and say, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I'm here to do, and unless we have evidence that they have the authority to do it, we're just shooting in the dark. I don't doubt that you're here for this particular thing. You've done a lot of nice designs and things, but
Do we need to see copies of the lease agreement? And
technically you would want that. That's what you would ask for. You'd
Yeah.
have some evidence that this person has the right to be there, number one, and number two, that you have that connection to that person. The chain of title, what we call privity of contract. There's no connection.
I'm not gonna lie, this is my first variance hearing.
Well, I'm glad that you came for this one because you'll be the best at the next one. You'll come and you'll tell your boss back at the ranch, hey, wait a second, you shouldn't be the applicant. The applicant should be the person who's occupying the space. They're the one who's hired you folks to put the sign up, correct? Well, Mr. Chair, go ahead, Gail.
If we put if we would approve it and put any conditions on it, would he be able to?
Enforce the
commit to-
conditions.
Yeah, commit to conditions.
That's part of the issue.
Yeah.
I think what we could do is we could have the hearing theoretically with a condition that they provide us with evidence, such as a lease, and perhaps a letter from the landlord authorizing this all to take place.
Okay.
And the person who's gonna occupy the space, who's the tenant? You said it was, what's the guy's name?
The tenant is gonna be Crunch Fitness, and the person that runs that on this location is named Nick Herman.
Well, he looks like he's an employee of Fitness Holdings LLC.
Well, Fitness Holdings LLC is the people that are,
That's the franchise, do they franchise these, do you know?
no, I think it's an LLC.
All company stores? Because there's a bunch of these Crunch
Yeah,
Fitnesses.
They do have franchises, yes. There's
They
other
do have
people.
franchises too. But as far as you know, this is the franchisor?
Yes.
Okay. So Ken Herman, or is it Nick Herman or?
Nick Herman, yep.
Nick Herman. We could theoretically go forward that way.
Well, I would think we should go forward, but you know, depending on how we rule, like it would probably be problematic, as Gail stated, if we have conditions, or secondly, if we have concerns and we're not going to be in a position to approve this. So, but you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with us going through it and, you know, asking questions and letting you know where our position is. Okay? That sound good?
Mhm.
Okay, so why don't you tell us about the proposal?
Okay, so basically, we were hired to do the sign work, and the sign work was stated, as Mike said, it was supposed to be like 32 square feet per occupancy, and we are taking up 2 different occupancies. As far as like, we're taking over what used to be the Shirt Inc. spot, as well as the gym that was beside it. So we were looking to make our sign bigger, as Mike said, so it could be seen. So, yeah, so it could be of relative size, so it could be seen from the road and seen from the back of the parking lot. And so that people know we're there.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay, well, I'll start with questions. So, understand you're the person designing the sign, but from a facility standpoint, I believe this would be the largest sign in the facility. So, like, I would have a question of the leasee or the people who are who own the facility. Is there a problem with having such a large sign as compared to the other storefronts that maybe, you know, adhered to the smaller sign, even though they may have want a larger sign? So why does it have to be that big? Like,
They wanted to go as big as they could because of taking over 2 spots, and 2 spots being each spot being 32 square feet, which would equal 64 square feet for us if we were taking up 2 spots.
Or you could put 2 signs that are compliant to 36 square feet on either side. So I'm looking for a hardship.
Well, as far as I know, Nick has been in contact with the landlord, and the landlord does not have a problem with this.
But the landlord's not here for us to ask him that question. Like, what would the other tenants, how would they feel? So those are my questions.
Well, right, if it violates any other lease of the other tenants, or as the sign might even be bigger than Acme.
I think it
Are they all going to
But
come
really,
to us
that's
now
not- that's
and
not
ask for
our-
larger signs on the side of that building? Because now we grant this, everyone else can do it down.
Yeah, so I mean, we have the ordinance for a reason. I'm just trying to understand what the hardship is, and I'm not really hearing it right now. So is it possible to design and then install a sign that's compliant?
It would be, as far as compliant with
our variance?
With your variance, yes.
I mean,
but
with our ordinance, I mean.
It would be hard. That's one of the reasons that Nick was sending us here, is because of that. It would be one of the smaller signs. I think one of their proposals for Crunch Fitness is their signs have to be, or they want their signs to be at least this big.
Well, I'm sure that the facility also wants to comply with the local rules, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, so I'm just looking for that compelling reason why we should approve a bigger sign.
Well, I mean, if you saw on the next page, each sign that they had were the signs. Some of the signs for the one building was over 32 square feet. All of the signs actually over 32 square feet.
What in Where, in the
It's the last
in
page
shopping
of the
center?
document. For the shopping center, the CrossFit, the gym, the Stitch Fix sign, or the Shirt Aid sign, they're all over 32 square feet.
Uh-oh.
And that's the concern, that if
Why?
we approved it, the question is, everybody else is gonna want more, but just because two wrongs don't make a right, I think my mother taught me when I was a kid, but, you're right, if they are too big, then theoretically they can be cited by the township to have that resolved, unless the plans, when this was developed, they had the variance then, or the ordinance may have been different then, which I think is probably the case. So that's part of your hardship, it seems to me, which is, they changed the ordinance on us. Everybody else has the big sign, but we don't. But you're a sign guy, so Mr. Bollinger ought to be out there saying, well, I see that these numbers, you're reflecting, this is what you did, right? You measured the signs that exist, and they're all over the limit.
I believe in that.
They're over the limit, but they're not over the limit to the extent that you want to make it over the limit, I guess, is the point. Saw that here.
Yeah. I'm having a tough time believing believing the dimensions. I'm pretty familiar with the shopping center, and I don't think that CrossFit sign is 3 feet high.
Let's ask them. Did you make those measurements?
I did make these measurements off of a site visit that was conducted.
You
by
made the
us.
measurements yourself?
I found the measurements. We did a site visit and we measured like what was there, and that's how I sized the things up.
So let me just be clear here. So the CrossFit sign from the bottom of the green to the top of the green, that's 36 inches?
To my knowledge, yes.
When you said to your knowledge, didn't you do the measurements?
I got the measurements off of somebody from our company. I didn't go out and physically do the survey. We
Okay,
had
so
another guy.
this is hearsay, in essence, what we call it in the business, which is somebody else told you that they went out there and measured it, and those are the numbers that they came back with. Is that right?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
And that was somebody in your company?
Yes.
Who was that?
His name was Scott.
Scott, what's his last name?
It's slipping on me right now. I'm pretty new to the business.
I'm sorry that you're going through this. Obviously, they sent you here to get into the crosshairs here, unfortunately. But, so Scott told you that he went out there and measured those signs, and that all those signs have those measurements that are indicated on this exhibit, the last page. What we're gonna mark this exhibit as, let's do it this way. A1's gonna be your application, okay? Although I'm gonna ask that as part of this, you're still gonna have to prove that Mr. Bollinger has the right to do this, because to me, he doesn't. It's the CrossFit company that has the right to seek this with permission of the landlord.
Crunch Fitness.
Yes. And then we're gonna mark this packet of documents that are 11 by 14, I suspect, that have your name on them as a designer, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 pages, they're dated August the 8th of 24. We're gonna mark that as packet A2. Let's just do all the pages, just in case. A2, A3 is the next page, A4 is the next page. Then you handed up 8.5 by 11 documents that are 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And these also say that they were drawn on 8/8/24. They include essentially what I think was in the packet originally that I had marked as A2, 3, and 4, except the last page I think is new. Just verify that. Yes, the last page is new, as is the... Anyway, we're gonna mark this packet you handed up today as A5, A6, A7, and A8. The reason I did that is because A8 is the document we've been talking about, which is the one that has the square footage measurements for those signs that are on this Park Ridge location. And you're telling me that Scott measured these and he told you he measured these?
He measured the areas.
The areas or the signs?
The areas.
Areas of the signs?
Yes.
I don't know what you want to do, Mr. Chair, but this is a mess.
I have a question, actually. I noticed on the last page that the top photo of the shopping center of the existing signs, there's the shopping center sign of Park Ridge in that triangle. And you want to replace the Park Ridge sign and the CrossFit
As far as
sign.
the Park Ridge sign is no longer there.
It's not?
No.
Okay, but that is the shopping center company, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so do they, I guess, so they're not planning to put that sign there because you would need their permission to remove it?
Yeah, yeah.
And that permission has been obtained?
Yeah, they're not putting that back up there. As far as I know, everything that's been held from Nick Herman, from the landlord, because they've already went through the lease signing, and this is the information that they're conveying to me, to convey to you.
Okay, so, any other questions?
Any other questions over here?
I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause for a moment, we're gonna go back and deliberate and come back and probably ask you some more questions.
Okay.
Okay, but I wanna talk to the board separately, if I could. All right, thank you. Be right back.
The next one's
Okay, we are back and understand that, Mr. Weiser, you've agreed to a continuance?
You're requesting a continuance, and the continuance is based upon the condition that the timeframes of the municipality's planning code will be extended commensurate with the timeframe that we're continuing this and beyond, so that we comply with the ordinance. But we're going to continue it, we're going to hold the record open until the January 20, wait one second, January 23rd meeting of 2025, which will be here at 7 p.m. And what I would encourage you to do is make sure that, first of all, do you have any objection to that continuance, to those conditions? So you're okay with that continuance then, correct? Means yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would suggest that you do, and I gave you my card, is to get a copy of the lease for the tenant of that space to me before the next hearing, okay? What I would also suggest is that you get a letter from the landlord authorizing CrossFit to present this application, okay?
Yes.
And I would ask you to bring a witness who can testify as to the reasons why this sign has to be larger than the other signs or larger than what the ordinance provides. And that would be somebody like a CrossFit representative, Mr. Herman or his agent who has a relationship to CrossFit. No disrespect to you, you're the sign guy. All you know is about the sign. You don't know the reasons for it. You don't know what relationship they have with the landlord. You don't know anything about the landlord, etc. Okay, so that's my suggestion to you, to bring those things. And you're going to give me your contact information, and I will send you an email with that information. Okay? Clear as mud?
Yep.
Got it.
And the only clarification is with the landlord, that the landlord or their representative agrees to this, whatever sign size you're proposing, so that we know that if we approve this, that the landlord for all of the businesses in that shopping center agrees to the larger signage. Okay?
Yep.
All right, very good. We good?
Motion?
The motion to approve that or a motion to adjourn?
No, to continue, approve the
Yeah,
continuance
motion to-
request.
All right, motion to continue.
Tried.
I was with you, I thought, what do we?
Let Gail second it,
I'll
because
second that motion.
this is her last night on the board.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor of continuing?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, so it's approved that we're going to continue this presentation to the January 23rd, 2025 zoning hearing board meeting. Okay? All right, we'll see you or others in a month.
Hopefully others too, not just you.
We wanna
I'm
see
not
you
trying to
too.
denigrate you, just, we need some more firepower.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Want to make the motion? Yes, I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Meeting's closed. Have a great Christmas, New Year's.